The ocean's surface lies perfectly still, betraying nothing of the deadly game unfolding 300 feet below. At this very moment, a Venezuelan submarine glides through the Caribbean depths, its crew believing they're invisible, untouchable. Their mission? Track and potentially threaten one of America's most powerful assets, a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. But what they don't know is that they've already been caught. Before we reveal how this underwater hunt turned into a trap, hit that subscribe button and drop a comment telling us, what do you think happens when a diesel submarine challenges a carrier strike group? The Caribbean Sea has become an unlikely theater for one of the most tense submarine encounters in recent years. Venezuela's naval ambitions, backed by foreign powers, have grown bolder than ever. Their submarines, acquired through controversial deals, represent Havana and Caracas's attempts to project power in waters the United States has dominated for over a century. These diesel-electric vessels might be old technology compared to America's nuclear fleet, but they possess one crucial advantage. In certain conditions, they can run nearly silent, becoming what submariners call black holes in the ocean. The submarine in question is a Kilo-class vessel, a Soviet-era design that Russia sold to Venezuela in the early 2000s. Despite its age, this platform earned a fearsome reputation during the Cold War. Western navies nicknamed it the Black Hole because of its acoustic stealth capabilities when running on electric batteries. The Venezuelan Navy invested heavily in maintaining and upgrading these boats, seeing them as equalizers against the overwhelming surface superiority of the U.S. Navy. Their crews trained extensively, including exercises with Russian and Chinese instructors, learning the art of stalking targets while remaining undetected. American carrier strike groups don't sail alone, and this is where Venezuela's submarine commanders made their critical miscalculation. Every carrier travels with an entire battle group specifically designed to protect it from threats above, on, and below the waves. The protective screen includes guided missile destroyers equipped with sophisticated sonar systems, helicopters carrying dipping sonars and sonobuoys, and most critically, at least one fast attack submarine running interference ahead of the formation. These Los Angeles or Virginia-class nuclear submarines operate as silent guardians, hunting for any threat before it can get close to the carrier. The moment Venezuela's submarine left port, it was likely tracked. Modern satellite surveillance can detect submarine departures through multiple methods: visual observation, thermal signatures from diesel exhaust, and even subtle changes in water temperature and color. Intelligence assets throughout the Caribbean, from radar stations to human sources, create a comprehensive surveillance network. By the time the Venezuelan boat reached international waters, American naval intelligence had already briefed the carrier group commander on the potential threat approaching their operational area. Underwater acoustics operate by rules that would seem alien on land. Sound travels differently through water depending on temperature, salinity, and depth. Experienced submariners learn to hide in what they call layers, where temperature changes bend sound waves, creating acoustic shadows. The Venezuelan crew undoubtedly used these tactics, slowing to near-crawling speeds and running on batteries to minimize their acoustic signature. In their sonar room, operators would have listened intently for any sign they'd been detected, hearing only the ambient noise of the ocean, distant biologics, shipping traffic far away, the random clicks and groans of the deep. What they couldn't hear was the American fast attack submarine that had positioned itself perfectly. Modern U.S. submarines use anechoic tiles covering their hulls that absorb active sonar pings, and their machinery sits on sophisticated mounting systems that isolate vibrations. Propulsor technology has evolved beyond traditional propellers, creating thrust while generating minimal noise. The American boat could literally sit motionless in the water, listening, waiting, completely undetectable to the approaching Venezuelan submarine. The carrier group's anti-submarine warfare coordinator worked from a specialized facility deep inside the carrier, surrounded by displays showing real-time data from every sensor in the battle group. Sonobuoys dropped by P-8 Poseidon aircraft created an invisible fence in the water, listening for any acoustic anomaly. MH-60R helicopters hovered at precise locations, lowering dipping sonars that could detect submarines at considerable distances. The data from all these sources fused together into a comprehensive underwater picture, and that picture clearly showed the Venezuelan submarine's position, course, and speed. The trap was already set before the Venezuelan crew realized they were in danger. The American fast attack submarine maneuvered into position behind and below the diesel boat, a position submariners call in the baffles, where the target's own sonar is least effective. Surface ships adjusted their courses to create a box around the area, while helicopters repositioned overhead. The Venezuelan submarine had become the center of attention for one of the most sophisticated anti-submarine warfare organizations on the planet, and they had no idea. International maritime law governs these encounters with surprising specificity. In international waters, submarines have every right to operate, even near military vessels, as long as they don't take overtly hostile actions. The American response wouldn't involve depth charges or torpedoes, but rather a carefully calibrated demonstration of awareness and capability. The message needed to be clear. We know exactly where you are, we've been tracking you the whole time, and you never had a chance. The revelation came through active sonar, a deliberate choice by the American commander. The destroyer's bow-mounted sonar sent powerful acoustic pulses through the water, pulses so intense they could literally be felt inside the submarine's hull. In the Venezuelan sonar room, the passive operators would have suddenly heard an overwhelming series of pings, each one announcing with absolute clarity that they'd been found. The sonar display would have painted their own submarine in unmistakable detail, showing them as the target rather than the hunter. Submarine commanders dread this moment more than almost anything else in naval warfare. The psychological impact of going from believing you're hidden to realizing you're completely exposed creates immediate stress throughout the crew. The captain faced an impossible decision: continue the mission knowing the element of surprise was lost, or withdraw and admit failure. Meanwhile, the American fast attack submarine made its own presence known, positioning itself where the Venezuelan sonar could finally detect it, demonstrating that there had been a hunter behind the hunter all along. The Venezuelan submarine's response followed standard procedures for this type of encounter. They increased depth slightly, turned away from the carrier group, and began a slow withdrawal from the area. There was no point in continuing when stealth had been completely compromised. Their sonar operators would have continued monitoring, now hearing the full extent of the forces arrayed against them. Multiple surface ships, helicopters, and that eerily quiet American submarine that seemed to appear and disappear at will from their sonar display. This encounter reveals crucial lessons about modern naval warfare and the balance of power at sea. Submarines remain potent weapons, capable of surprising even the most prepared opponents, but success requires more than just a capable platform. It demands intelligence superiority, technological advantage, crew expertise, and often geographic advantages that simply don't exist when challenging an American carrier group in waters where the U.S. maintains comprehensive surveillance and sensor networks. Venezuela's submarine program represents broader geopolitical tensions in the Western Hemisphere. Countries that feel threatened by American power constantly seek asymmetric capabilities that might level the playing field. Submarines offer this possibility, at least in theory. A single well-positioned submarine could theoretically threaten targets worth billions of dollars. But theory meets hard reality when facing an opponent who has spent decades and countless billions perfecting anti-submarine warfare, creating layers of defense that make successful attacks extraordinarily difficult. The technological gap between diesel-electric submarines and nuclear-powered vessels creates fundamental operational differences. Diesel boats must eventually snorkel to recharge batteries, creating vulnerability windows. They have limited underwater endurance and speed. Nuclear submarines can remain submerged for months, limited only by crew endurance and food supplies. They can sprint at speeds that diesel boats cannot match. And they possess power generation capabilities that enable sophisticated sensors and systems that drain batteries too quickly on conventional submarines. Training and doctrine matter as much as technology. American submarine crews train constantly in realistic scenarios, including exercises against their own submarines playing opposition forces. They learn from decades of operational experience accumulated across multiple conflicts and countless peacetime patrols. The institutional knowledge embedded in American submarine warfare runs deep, passed down through generations of submariners who have refined tactics and procedures through hard-won experience.